Pizza. A social media phenomenon, America's favorite food, and a staple of the Italian diet. It's everywhere and we can't get enough of it. A slice of pizza may be the ultimate satisfaction for most, but it actually represents a lot more than we think.
Now, we, of course, associate pizza with Italy, and that's not exactly wrong. I think we might also say it's not exactly right.
That's the voice of Paul Mitchell, an anthropologist at the University of Pennsylvania. He's really interested in the way that culture makes our world and knows a lot more about the history of pizza than even the greatest pizza lover.
A lot of the foods that we consume, even some of the most popular ones, have histories that we oftentimes don't know and don't think about when we're eating. And in the case of pizza, we're dealing with a history that is in many ways more complex, in many ways perhaps surprising in relation to the simple association that we make between this food and one country, that is Italy. Although we have ideas that, sauerkraut is German and egg rolls are Chinese, the cultural history of food is oftentimes much more complex than the simple assumptions that we make. If you break pizza down into its major parts, you're dealing with a flatbread, cheese, tomato sauce. But when we think about some of these simple building blocks of pizza, we actually go back pretty far into history.
So let's get to the bottom of this, the crust. Whether you like it crispy or doughy, all pizza crusts start from the same ingredient, wheat.
And wheat was one of the first grains that was domesticated anywhere in the world. Now, we know that by about 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, there were civilizations that were based entirely on the consumption of wheat as a staple grain. So these were in the Near East and in Mesopotamia. Wheat was very quickly spread all throughout the circum-Mediterranean world. Pita bread was eaten with herbs and cheese and oil and olives. So people have been eating bread with toppings, or sometimes what's called a relish, for a very long time.
Pita with toppings sounds a whole lot like pizza. The word pita itself sounds a lot like pizza. The ties between the Middle East and pizza make us wonder if it's as Italian as we thought. But what about the cheese?
The cheese that we use for pizza is mozzarella. And mozzarella is actually made from the high-fat content of buffalo milk. Now, that wouldn't be a particularly interesting fact, except that buffalo are not native to Italy. They're actually from continental Asia.
So how did they get all these buffalo to Italy? Well, this guy. Marco Polo was an Italian merchant traveler who traded between the Far East and the European world.
Some of the things that were traded back to Europe included some of these Central Asian buffalo, the milk of which then became very much prized for the cheese that could be made from it, namely mozzarella.
So far we know that pizza dough originated in the Middle East and mozzarella cheese traces back to Central Asia. So tomatoes have to be from Italy, right? Well, not exactly.
Tomatoes are native to Central America. It was only in the last 400 or so years that they made a grand introduction into European cuisine. And they were greeted pretty enthusiastically. Now, it actually isn't until the end of the 18th century, in 1790, that a recipe for tomato sauce appears in any Italian cookbook. The idea that tomato sauce is a fundamental part of Italian cuisine, it's true today, but it wasn't true as few as maybe 300 years ago or so.
So we know that the building blocks of pizza come from all around the world. But the creation of pizza as we know it today did come from Italy.
The story as to the origins of pizza's international prominence actually goes back to a man in Naples, Raffaele Esposito. Queen Margherita of Italy came to the city and was served by Mr. Esposito some of the finest pizzas that he could make. Now, Italy was a relatively recently unified country, so the Queen's visit to Naples was actually quite important.
So how best demonstrate pride for a new nation than making a pizza in the flag's colors? Esposito created a green, white, and red pizza by combining tomato sauce, cheese, and basil to create the now classic Margherita pizza.
Pizza's history, it's not just about food. It's also about a newly unified country's aspirations toward unity. It's about the close association that food and identity have together. It's about the travel of food across the world in circuits of trade and in recent global diasporas and migrations.
America's favorite food means a lot more than a classic Italian menu item. So next time you take a bite of pizza, remember, you're getting a nice taste of history.